Okay, so the Unipartians win. They took us out to March with another continuing resolution. Are we ever going to get the cuts that we want? They told us that we got some. We'll talk about that. We're also going to talk about Trump's VP picks. I have some opinions on this. You might find them pretty interesting. This is going to be a good show today. You're not going to want to miss it. I'm Jared, and this is Continue Freedom. Okay, welcome back to Continue Freedom. If this is your first time here, welcome. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave comments below. We're on X, Locals, Rumble, and YouTube. In fact, we're everywhere, just at Continue Freedom. I got all the handles, so I'm good to go. You could find me anywhere, but really, X, Rumbles, Locals, and YouTube are the only places that I really am. Also, go to continuefreedom.com, sign up for my mailing list. It will help me out in the future. I've already got my first video taken down, so it's almost like a badge of honor. If you're doing conservative commentary, you know you're going to have a video taken down. And I said something wrong about the thing that was placed in people's arms across the country and some of the issues that have arisen from that. So, that got my first video banned. All right, we'll see. I got one strike. Next one, I'm down for a week. Anyway, go to continuefreedom.com, sign up for my mailing list. I'm already ruffling feathers, which is a good thing. So we're going to talk about the latest government spending bill. So these continuing resolutions. We've been doing this since the 90s. And I was reading an article, I forget which publication it was, and they laid out over the past, since 94, 95, when we're complaining, conservatives are complaining about these continuing resolutions, their argument is, oh, but look, we've had continuing resolutions all these years, and look how many times we've voted on them every year. Well, the point is not how many times we've voted on continuing resolutions. I don't want to vote on a single one. The fact is we are running our government off of continuing resolution, and each of these things need to be itemized. Defense needs to be itemized, health and human services, all of these things. It has to be itemized. We have to look at it specifically, and the congressmen and women need to do their jobs and read each of those bills so that they can go back to their constituents and tell them where the money is being spent. They don't do that. They do the continuing resolution because it's easier and because they're lazy and because they can hide a lot of this spending inside of them. And I'm entirely opposed to that. Similar situation with omnibus spending bills. These omnibus spending bills that they'll pass, like we did with COVID, where they're talking about COVID relief, and yet they're paying to take over 5 million acres or 9 million acres. I forget how many. In fact, I once went in and read most of the 1,800-page bill. It was absolutely ludicrous, and it gave me a headache. But they were trying to pay farmers not to farm on land. What does that have to do with COVID? It has nothing to do with COVID, and it's the government reducing food supply, doing all of those things. They were saying they wanted them to grow shrubbery over top of it, undergrowth, as they called it, and it was to prevent erosion. It was erosion protection. Stupid things like that getting put into our COVID bills, and all that has to go away. So that's why I'm a huge proponent of congressmen and women. If you want to add something to a bill, you yourself have to sit down and type it out. It can't be a lobbyist. It can't be a staffer. You can't copy and paste from a thumb drive that you got from a lobbyist that whispers in your ear on a daily basis or on a weekly basis and has an office 5 blocks down from you. This has to be penned in your own hand. And before you vote on anything, everybody has to certify that they have read it. If anybody has not read it, then you can't vote on it. And you can't, that's it. These are simple little steps to force these people to actually do the work and not copy and paste from lobbyists and special interest groups. But nonetheless, the Fox News, thankfully to them, they made the valid point that there's a difference between the GOP and conservatives. The conservative movement is a legit movement inside of, the right side of politics. And I mean that in both ways, by the way, the right side of politics and the correct side. The uniparty is the GOP. It's the Lindsey Grahams of the world, the Mitch McConnells of the world, the people that are really bought into the uniparty idea. We see the uniparty now in the presidential races, Nikki Haley, or in some cases, Ron DeSantis. But by and large, it's Nikki Haley. And with Nikki Haley or Joe Biden, you're getting essentially the same thing. You get different rhetoric, but the same policy prescriptions. You get the war, the defense contractors, and all those people. They're going to get their money. Nothing is going to change with a Nikki Haley presidency. And that's the uniparty. The uniparty in Congress is equally as damaging And this is what is leading to, they had 107 people, and I'll give you the names. You can pause it if you want to. These are the names of the people who voted for the continuing resolution. They voted to print more money. They voted to devalue our currency. They are the ones who might whoop and holler to their constituents and say, hey, I made cuts. We cut $20 billion out of this. $20 billion is a lot of money. It really is. But when you're spending $1.5 trillion, it's a little over 1%. Is really all you got. A 1% cut. And granted, this is going to go on until March. This is the continuing resolution. Will go on until March, at which time they say they're going to vote on it again. Now, Matt Gaetz, he went on CNN and talked to probably the most vacuous airhead, I would say, on cable television, and that's Abby Phillip. And he was basically saying that, and this is in a tweet that he sent, but securing our border was not central to House leadership's strategy on the government funding dispute, but it should be. Okay, fair point. Speaker Johnson has assured me today in an extended meeting that before the next March deadline is reached, the House will pass border security bills and will put pressure on the Senate to take them up. We will broaden our majority by passing these appropriations bills and fighting for policy objectives that matter to Republicans. We don't broaden our majority by cowering in fear and passing another continuing resolution. The continuing resolutions keep kicking this can down the road. No problems are being solved with the continuing resolution. So when they say, "Oh, we don't want to shut down the government. We don't want to," that's kind of the threat that the Democrats like to make. But if you listen to Democrats, there are things they are willing to shut down the government for. And here's a prime example is, where did that go? Well, I just lost it. Either way, there was a Democrat congressman from California, and he said, oh, no, I'm willing to shut down the federal government. I would entertain that over Ukraine money. So the Republicans say we're going to shut down the government because of things that benefit our country. And I won't say all Republicans. I will say conservatives and some Republicans. They say, well, this is the border. That is something worth fighting for. Democrats say Ukraine is worth fighting for and other foreign countries are worth fighting for, but not our own people. No. We can't shut down the government for our own people. We got to do it for foreign entities run by little dictators in Eastern Europe. This is their platform, and ours is America first. And so, yeah, conservatives absolutely are pissed, and they very well should be. I am, but because we have seen this for 20 years, 30 years, kicking the can down the road, and the spending never gets fixed. Defense Department is supposed to have their own budget, and that should go before Congress. Health and Human Services should have their own budget, their own legislation that goes justify all their expenses. That goes before Congress. Every department, every single one has to be voted on. And if we get to the omnibus spending bills, which we know that if it's an election year, something is going to come down the pipe, something detrimental, something scary, who knows what it could be. But when it happens, there will be another omnibus spending bill, and they will print trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars, further devaluing our currency, further devaluing our 401ks, driving us closer and closer and closer to the event horizon. And that event horizon is that point around a black hole, which after you cross it, there is no escape. You cannot escape the gravitational pull of that black hole. And your only destination is to the center of that crushing black hole with that crushing gravity all around you. We are approaching that point as a federal government when it comes to spending. We have spent now more than 100% GDP we have in debt. We have $34 trillion in debt and climbing every single day. $1.5 trillion doesn't help that. And we are moving closer and closer to the fiscal event horizon, beyond which there is no escape. And the only destination for us is the crushing weight of inflation and hyperinflation, and then economic collapse. This is where we are headed. And they kick the can down the road. They continue to do it, and they continue to spend. Everything in that bill should have been itemized and voted on individually. And they're not going to get it done in 3 months. Let's be perfectly honest. They'll pass a border bill, and they'll say, "Oh, we're gonna allocate whatever, maybe $100 billion, or we're gonna allocate $50 billion," which, by the way, is just a fraction of what we've put into Ukraine, of another country, so that they can protect their borders. But they're going to have some border bill. They're going to tout it as some victory, and at the end of the day, The Democrats win because they get their Ukraine money. They're going to get their the war in Israel money and all of those things, and which obviously a lot of Republicans want as well. But we're not going to get the border policies that we want. It's going to be a compromise because the Democrats don't want to spend money on that. They much prefer to spend money outside of America than in it. And they shouldn't be spending money to begin with. So I'm pretty angry about it. And the question that I ask is, should we fire the Speaker of the House? Should we fire the Speaker of the House now? Is it too much? And you don't have to answer this part of the question, but you can feel free to delve into this. Should we fire Mike Johnson, or should we give him another chance? And the reason I ask this is McCarthy, everybody made a big stink about it. I listened to Brian Kilmeade on Fox News, and he was jumping up and down like, well, we look like idiots. Judge Janine was saying, oh, we look like idiots. They're making us look like fools. But Kevin McCarthy wasn't doing his job. Kevin McCarthy was playing his good boy role as a unipartian, and that's not what we want. We're moving past the uniparty, and they're trying to maintain relevance. But the Trump movement and the conservative movement, and we've got 3 or 4 other things over here on our side, they're all moving in a different direction, and the old school big R Republicans are losing favor with the base. And that is the right way for things to be. The problem is unifying all these other people over here on the other side. So unifying the conservatives, unifying some of the I guess, libertarians. They're not really under any party. But we've got, Trump conservatives / Trump Republicans. We've got true conservatives, the constitutional conservatives. We've got people that are talking about, well, I won't even say the word, but Christian nationalism is the word I was looking for, but that's kind of been co-opted and become this weird thing that I believe is bad. But we've got all these people over here on the right, and we have to coalesce all of those people in order to take over the big R Republican Party. We need to remove the base that gets Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell elected and put in the new generation, the new version of the Republican Party, where we wield our power, but in a way where we are bestowing more liberties and freedoms on the American people. And the only way to do that is by removing regulation, removing government control, and having these bills shrink, not grow. We should be applauding for less spending, not more. Because there's something we used in the military, and it was measured, and you use it in the civilian world too, but it's measures of performance and measures of effectiveness. A measure of performance would be, we'll use the federal government, I spent $30 million on road improvements, and I improved roads for $30 million. That's a measure of performance. Measure of effectiveness is that I used a crappy contractor, and now those roads are filled with potholes. So your measure of performance was high, your measure of effectiveness was low, because you spent and basically wasted $30 million. There is no measure on effectiveness. Everything is a measure of performance, and it's how much money you spend, how much money you get for your district, how much money you give to a company that's in your district. These are the things that they use for their little internal evaluations to say, oh, I'm doing a great job as a congressman. I got this much money. Yeah, but did we need that money? How did this turn out? How effective was the spending? And we don't have that. They just blindly spend. And they do it through continuing resolution because it's easy and because they're lazy. It infuriates me, absolutely infuriates me. But we'll see. Again, your question, should we fire Mike Johnson or give him another chance? Because I have no issue firing the guy. Move on to the next one. Give me an actual conservative in there. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to talk about is Trump's VP picks. Now, I have been combing the internet, finding la-di-da-di everybody's thoughts on this, and I believe that, my initial thought, let me give you my initial take on this. I thought it was going to be Nikki Haley, Ben Carson, Vivek Ramaswamy. Those were my 3 picks. And then I had a friend of mine who on the Braver Than the Rest podcast, if you've never seen it, you ought to check it out. I've been co-hosting with him for, several weeks, and he goes deep into the faith side of things. So there's always a faith message after we discuss politics. And so it's pretty cool. But His take was Candace Owens, and that was kind of his controversial take. We discussed that one. But I heard recently on Twitter, Nikki Haley, J.D. Vance, and Elise Stefanik. These are the ones that Trump is looking at, and I believe what they were implying was that Elise Stefanik is at the top of the list. I personally believe Elise Stefanik would be a great pick. She's sharp, articulate. She's a bulldog. She's got that New York energy. She's from New York, which I know Trump can relate to because that's what he dealt with for many years as a real estate developer. She's pro-border. She's pro-life. And I think there would be a good energy there, but she's not so overpowering that Trump won't keep his limelight, which I know is important. And I think that is why Vivek Ramaswamy, that's kind of the con to Vivek Ramaswamy. He is such an overpowering figure. Donald Trump is not going to want to be compared to Vivek Ramaswamy when he's out there giving speeches and he's stumping because the guy gets massive play on the internet. And if he's in some significant post with the president, he's not going to stop that. He's probably going to keep doing his podcast. He's probably going to keep making the rounds in media, and they're going to follow him because he is so eloquent, so sharp, and he draws eyes. He draws a lot of eyeballs. So I don't think that Trump likes that, to his own detriment, by the way. But the other people, we talk about J.D. Vance. So J.D. Vance and Nikki Haley. I'll go ahead and tell you, Nikki Haley is a horrific choice. Horrific choice. Patrick Bet-David on his podcast was saying, do we think that a Jamie Dimon is going to come to Trump and say, hey, look, I know you're probably going to win, but we'll get if you get Nikki Haley in there, which, by the way, Nikki Haley is bought and paid for by defense contractors, by the finance industry, by all these people. She's just a shill. And if you get her in there, we'll throw, $100 million your way into your campaign, ease some of the financial burden on you, yada, yada, yada. And I would hope that Trump wouldn't be foolish enough, or that his advisors would not be foolish enough to bite on that, because it would be enticing. The amount of money, the trillions of dollars that go through that Jamie Dimon handles, it's enticing. The fear also is that Nikki Haley is getting BlackRock money, and that BlackRock money it's very enticing. It's what's keeping her in the race, is BlackRock money and defense contractor money. But that also means that she becomes this leaky hole through which the old school establishment, the military-industrial complex, all of these people can leak their filthy ideas into the Oval Office. They don't have to leak it into Trump's ear, just into his advisors' ears, to other people. That will put them in the White House, and I think it would be a horrific decision. Similarly, Nikki Haley, there's, recently at one of her events, there was a reporter standing outside, and he was asking people, okay, if Nikki Haley doesn't get the nomination, who are you going to be voting for? And do you know what they say? Every one of them. Almost every one of them. Joe Biden. I'm going to vote for Joe Biden. Is there any need for any more information than that? She is appealing to Democrat voters. And that might be great for an election. It could be. She says that, I win against Joe Biden and all that. Yeah, because she's a Democrat. She's going to draw a huge number of Democrats. But while that may win an election, that's going to take us right back to the George Bush Republican era. That's going to take us right back to the uniparty era. And that's not what we want. It's going to take slim margins initially to get a Trump, to get a Ramaswamy, to get some other conservative figure into the White House. There's going to be slim margins. I'm sorry, but we cannot compromise on those things. Because every time we compromise to the left. And we have to stop that. And that's why Nikki Haley is absolutely dangerous to the conservative movement and dangerous to the future of our country, politically speaking. J.D. Vance, who was another person mentioned, J.D. Vance, much like Nikki Haley, is a flip-flopper. And he is, I was looking at his political donors, and this guy gets the Blackstone money, and Blackstone's another investment company. But who does Blackstone donate to? Who are the top recipients for Blackstone? Well, let's take a peek here. I will show this to you. So Blackstone, they donate they donated $300,000 to Kyrsten Sinema, who's obviously says independent, but Kyrsten Sinema is most definitely a Democrat. To the DNC, they gave $263,000. Tom Sheehy, they gave him $114,000. So they're playing both sides. They gave Joe Biden $100,000. These people they play both sides of the political aisle, but when you add up the money, they are major Democrat donors, and they're centrist donors. So when you talk about a J.D. Vance is, I mean, he's part of the problem. He's not a solution. He's part of the problem. He would be another absolutely horrific pick, aside from the fact that he has been one of the biggest flip-floppers on Trump. The only time he turned over and started, kissing Trump's backside was when he needed to get elected in Ohio, and Trump gave his endorsement. And there were people in the campaign, or in the Republican Party inside of Ohio, who wrote a scathing letter to Donald Trump and said, this is an absolute, this is a shame that you are voting for this guy, or that you are endorsing this guy. You need to give your endorsement to somebody else. But he didn't. Not one of many missteps that Trump has made. He's not perfect, but one of many missteps that Trump has made. And so J.D. Vance would be a horrific idea, or a horrific vice presidential candidate. And this is also going to look, by the way, when you think about Nikki Haley, she does bring Democrats, but she's going to piss off the diehard Trumpers, because the diehard Trumpers hate her. And the Nikki Haley people, by the way, hate diehard Trumpers. Though they don't say it, a lot of their messaging kind of leads that way. The DeSantis people, some people have thrown DeSantis out there. I think he's completely out, because the DeSantis campaign they are the most vile, it's bad. Like, the DeSantis campaign is absolutely horrific towards Trump voters, which is going to shut them down anyway. And she's also going to piss off the anti-war people. That is a growing segment of the Republican Party. Anti-war, myself, as I've moved much more anti-war over the years, and that's as a guy who's been to war several times. But this is why, one of the big reasons that people are supporting Trump, because he is pitching nonstop. No more foreign wars. We're going to get out of all these foreign wars. Well, what does Nikki want? Her entire campaign, a central theme to her campaign, is war. It's war with Ukraine. It's war with Iran. It's war with the Houthis in Yemen. It's war, bomb them, and it's going to piss off all of the anti-war people, which is a huge swath of them. Now, he could do something. If Trump does this, it's going to be pretty infuriating. He could force it down our throats. He could say, nope, I need the votes, the Democrat votes that Nikki Haley brings. I'm going to put her in there and try to muzzle her whenever she is in the vice presidency. I'm going to make her a completely irrelevant vice president, much like, presidents have done in the past. They wanted to shut him up. They did it to Teddy Roosevelt, and what happened? Who was it? McKinley? Was it McKinley that was before him? Wound up dying, and Roosevelt came into office, so it backfired on them. That's a possibility based on how they're going after Donald Trump, which is horrific to think about, but not out of the realm of possibility. But he may think that I can get Nikki Haley in there, I can muzzle her, shut her up. The problem is, like I said, she is a leaking sieve through which all of this dark money can flow into the Oval Office, and it can infect the people around Donald Trump, and it can limit his effectiveness to be the commander-in-chief, to be the leader of the free world, and to get done the things that he wants to get done. He'll have people undermining him left and right. But, Nikki Haley, please don't. Please don't. Please don't pick Nikki Haley. And Kayleigh McEnany was the first person that I saw on Twitter who had said something about it. And I just said, no, please God, no. No, Nikki Haley. So there you go. Oh, and now I'll hit the last one, Candace Owens. So my friend said Candace Owens. My thought on her, she's too controversial. She doesn't support Israel, which is going to be a huge hit to Trump when people start hearing her rhetoric or go back, and the news is going to be playing it over and over again, how she is very much against the war in Israel, and that does play with the Republican base. It's going to be hard for her to overcome that. And she is going to take away some of the limelight from President Trump. Now, she's been a very vocal advocate of his. She has been, waving the pom-poms, flying the streamers. She's got her Trump stickers on her car, I'm assuming. I don't know, but she's been a huge advocate for him, and he respects that. But she's better left doing what she's doing, in my opinion, and being a voice on social media. Getting into politics is, although it might mature her a bit, which I have an issue with some of her maturity. Now, let's look at the Democrat side very quickly. And on the Democrat side, of course, everybody is talking about Michelle Obama. And Joe Biden right now is old and frail. There is no way the guy can survive another 4 years. He just can't. He's not. There's going to be something that happens. He's going to have an ailment, something, and he's going to be taken out. And the question is, taken out of office. Kamala will probably step in. This is, again, my opinion. Kamala will step in, or they will just keep pumping him full of methamphetamines just to get him through to through November, and then the next person can come in and start doing their thing. But people are talking about Michelle Obama, that she may be putting her hat in the ring to try to be the Democrat nominee. Oh, my goodness. Okay. These are her accomplishments. I'll list her accomplishments. She's better known for being the wife of one of the worst presidents in American history. She's also known for being an oppressed millionaire. She's part of the wealthy, rich, elite class now who continues to say, oh, I'm oppressed, I'm discriminated against, even though, and it's very easy to say that from your house in the Hamptons. Oh, I'm so oppressed, it's so horrible, and I get so upset, I'm going to have my chef bring me his special fudge sundae that he makes me every Saturday. It's disgusting. On top of that, she is an absolute lover of Harvey Weinstein. And I had that video. Let me see if I can find it. I might have shut it down. Oh, wouldn't you know it? I closed that window. Let me see if I can find it because it was so great. It was so great. Well, there was that they were playing the video on Instagram, or not on Instagram, on Twitter of her singing the accolades of Harvey Weinstein. He's such a great guy. Thank you for this great event. Harvey Weinstein has obviously gone down as one of the most horrific sexual harassers in Hollywood history. And yet she's up there singing his praises. The upside for her is that Democrats can actually get away with that. Democrats can get away with supporting a Harvey Weinstein or supporting a Jeffrey Epstein. And it doesn't impact them. Their voters don't care. And to vote Democrat voters who have made it this far in the video, why do you not care about that? Why does this not disgust you about these people? Why does it not want you to have to be yelling from the rooftops for your party to do a deep dive into all the people? And Republicans too. If Republicans are involved with Jeffrey Epstein, they need to go to prison and be chemically castrated. That's just the bottom line. Like that was a horrific thing. If you're still singing the praises of Harvey Weinstein, or in that case, she probably isn't now. This was back before he had, been accused. Everybody knew what was going on with Harvey Weinstein. There was absolutely no secrets behind it, but they'll sing their praises anyway. She was also known, by the way, for decorating the White House. Okay. And she shrank the size of lunches in America. This was a video, and this is in American schools. This is from, it's not the video. It's just a headline from CBS News. Opinion: Stop Michelle Obama. The children are hungry. They had shrunk the size of school meals for kids, and kids were starving. And I think this was kind of her plot. We can't. We're not going to teach. It's too hard to teach kids to have a healthy relationship with food. So we're just going to shrink their stomachs, and maybe that'll get them prepared for the Davos World Economic Forum, run on agriculture that we're about to go through right now. If you haven't seen in Germany. That when they shorten our food supply, it'll be better because then the kids won't have as much food. Their stomachs will be much. That's hyperbolic. But those are her accomplishments. She did nothing other than be married to the president of the United States, and he wasn't even a good president. But she's trying to be like Oprah, and she's trying to be like Oprah, but she doesn't have the right chromosomes, was what I was going to say. But she's not. She's not. She's playing the game. And she's got a ton of notoriety, but she knows absolutely nothing about running a country. She's never run a business. She's been a community organizer, just like her husband was. And the last time we had a community organizer, her husband, what did that do for us? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Wow. We got a lot going on, but those are my thoughts. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave comments below. We're on X Locals, Rumble, and YouTube, and I will see you in the next video.